Here's how you're gonna do it. He's gonna get home from work. You're gonna look at him really sweetly and you're gonna say, hey babe, by the time you get home from work, I'm very overstimulated, but I wanna be able to receive you better. So if you can just prioritize being with the kids so I can have some time for myself, it will really help me receive you better when you get home from work. Hi guys, karibu kwa familia yetu. Welcome back to my channel where motherhood meets self-care and marriage thrives on teamwork. If you're new here, my name is Shansei. I am a mom to 4 kids ages 6 and under. I share things balancing motherhood, marriage, and self-care. I am so excited for today's video. We're gonna be doing this beautiful makeup look for date night. It's a get ready with me video, so of course I'm gonna be showing you how I do this look and all the products I use to do this look. While we get ready, we're going to be talking about how we structure our date night, tips for making a date night a priority after having kids, and of course ways that we strengthen our intimacy in our marriage. I'm excited for this video. I know you're gonna love it, so let's get right into it. So just for a little background, my husband and I have been together for 10 years, going on 11 years in literally 2 months. If it's been that long, we've been married for about 8 years now. So we've been together for quite a while. I got pregnant with our firstborn literally a year after we got married. So not that it was planned, we actually wanted to wait on having kids. Like when we first got together and we're planning out our lives, we figured we'll start having kids 5 years into our marriage. But funny enough, 5 years into our marriage, we already had 4 kids. My mom always says you make plans and God laughs, because I don't know how that happened or why it happened so fast. But I am also so grateful that it happened the way it happened. My husband just stopped by to bring me one of my favorite, and I mean favorite, alcohol-free rosés. I'm gonna have to share with you guys the brand. This is the free one. I don't know what flavor it is. It doesn't taste like rosé, but it tastes really good and I like it. For my eyebrows, I use the NYX brow gel and the NYX brow pen. My husband and I definitely did not plan on starting our family immediately after, but that's just what God had planned for us, and I think it worked out really great. Just kind of got it out of the way, so now we can just focus on raising our kids and just growing together. That being said, before having kids, my husband and I were serial daters. Like we were going on date nights 4 to 5 times a week. We just loved being out together. We lived in the city. We lived right in the middle of DC, so we had literally no issue meeting up after work for happy hour, going out and planning a trip spontaneously. Like we've always loved being spontaneous with each other. And my biggest fear, of course, was like after having kids that would go away. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, the first year of having my son, that's exactly what happened. My husband was traveling a lot. We did not know what we're doing. We did not realize that just because we were just having date nights randomly before having kids, we're not gonna be able to do that. Like we're not just gonna be able to jump in and start having dates. And that's when we realized the first step of making sure that we still have date nights after having kids is intentionality. We have to be intentional about our dates now. We can't just like hope and pray that we have time together to just go on a date and everything is gonna work out. Like no babe, we no longer can be spontaneous in that way. We have to start planning. The first year of us having my son, we only went on maybe like 8 dates for that year, which for us was really sad. Like we missed each other and it was very clear. And quite frankly, I think it reflected on where we were as parents and as just like husband and wife. We just weren't ourselves. And date nights are really important to us. So we decided to do something about it. Then sat me down and I remember him being like, okay, we need to figure out how we can continue to be us and still do the things we love to do even though we have kids. Now, at this point, keep in mind, I am a full stay-at-home mom and my daughters are not in school. They're home, they're babies. We had no nanny at the moment, but we had like a sitter that would come in here and then to help me. We also just weren't in a space financially where we felt comfortable spending a ton of money on a full-time sitter or a part-time sitter. So we decided to just be a little more sporadic with when we booked her and just kept her just for date nights. Now, we did not start going on super long hour date nights at this point because the kids are so young. Our date nights were just a few hours, but it made a drastic difference. It made a drastic difference. So we started with a few hours because twin girls just got home from the NICU. They were really young and we were still too terrified to leave them for a long time. So these really short date nights were so fun, but they also really made a difference. And there were some time when our family members would be in town and we'll take advantage and go on like a longer date night, but that wasn't often. So We started off with just like once every 2 weeks we'll go on a date for maybe an hour or 2 hours. That used to be our old structure, but now years later, now that we have things kind of figured out, this is how our date night is structured. I'm doing like a smoky eye, but nothing too stark, so maybe like a subtle brown smoky eye. I'll go a little darker, we'll see. I'm just gonna use this naked is it naked? Yeah, this naked palette, and I'm going in with a brown first just to like cover my crease. The goal for us is to go on 4 date nights every month, basically weekly date nights. But because going on a date every week can be very pricey, we do 2 dates out and then 2 dates in the house. Now for the dates in the house, there are specific rules that make those date nights and not just any other date or any other night in. One, the date has to be planned out. So there have to be some type of planning involved for it to be considered a date. So if we're doing like a movie night, date night, we can't just sit down and watch a movie like we typically do. Like somebody has to set something up. There have to be a distinction between when we just sit on the couch and watch a movie after a long day and the date. So maybe there's popcorn, there's lights being set up, there's a mood. Something has to be set up for it to be considered a date. Rule number 2, we have to get dressed for it. Even if it's like wearing fancier pajamas than usual because it's still a movie night, something has to be different to make it a date night. And we have to be intentional about it. So not just, oh, it's a date night. No. We have to do something to make it a date night. So we've done some dinners in, like make pizza together, cook together, whatever it is, we have to follow those rules of getting dressed up for it and making sure that something has to be set up. Now, for date nights out, the way we plan our dates is we ask each other out on dates. So we don't have a specific date night set like on Tuesday or Thursday or Friday or anything. We just know that somebody has to ask somebody out. So for example, this date night, I asked my husband out on a date, which means that when I ask him out on a date, I have to plan the date, I have to pay for the date, I have to do everything as far as getting the sitter set up, I have to make sure that we're both good to go. I plan the entire thing. When he asks me out on a date, he plans the entire thing, like where we're going, what we're doing, gets a sitter, the whole thing. We don't do like, oh, I ask you this week, you ask me next week, none of that. To keep things spontaneous, we just ask whenever we want. Sometimes I ask him, sometimes he asks me, and if no one asks, then we just plan it together and be like, oh, where are we going this week? That's how that works. I think this format is really fun and cute because it still feels like I'm being courted. Like, clearly somebody asked me on a date, so I'm excited, I'm gonna get ready for it. And vice versa, it's nice because I get to ask my man out on a date, I get to treat him. And if you're like, oh, you're paying for these dates, well, yeah. My husband and I, the way our bank account is set up, like, we have full transparency. I know how much he makes. I know where his money is going, but I have my personal bank account. He has his personal bank account. We have a family bank account, family savings, and all that stuff. What's in my personal account is none of his business. What's in his personal account is none of my business, even though I know the percentage that goes in there. This allows for me to be able to treat him and for him to be able to treat me. And I love this setup. So yeah, I'm taking my husband out on a date tonight. I love getting to treat him. He loves getting to treat me. I think this is just a fun format, at least for us. So that's kind of how we structure our date nights. We also have a rule of saying like no dinner, back-to-back dinner dates. Like I think it's fun to want to try out a new restaurant, but like our dates have to be fun, right? We're not just gonna go to dinner every night or every date. So that role also makes it really easy for us to be creative. Like for example, tonight for a date night, I am taking my husband to a live action game night, like a game room. It's this game room called Active or something in Charlotte. And basically you get to go there and act like you're in a video game or something like that. My husband loves video games, so I know it's gonna be a really fun one for us. And last week for our date night, he took me to a museum. So we try to keep them very spontaneous. Like, will there be food? Yeah, girl, we can eat. But the whole point is no back-to-back dinner dates or anything. Like if we wanna try a new fun restaurant, absolutely, let's go try it. But like, we're not just going out to dinner every week. You know what I'm saying? Like, we like having new experiences with each other. That builds connection. That builds something for us to discover. Like I learn something new every time we go on a new date, right? Like that's the point of dating each other, to keep learning each other. And so we want to make sure we stay doing that. Let's address the elephant in the room. Obviously, in order for us to go on so many dates, we have to also have money to do it. I think the biggest mistake people can make is not budgeting for date nights. It is so important to budget for the things we want. Like, I'm not someone who needs purses or like expensive jewelry every week, but those date nights I want. So we make sure that we budget for our date nights. I think when you're budgeting for a date night, don't just think of budgeting for what you're gonna do or where you're gonna go. You need to budget for the sitter. Like, outside of your typical nanny or daycare or whatever you have, budget for the sitter. Like, for us, our sitter comes in and gets paid $25 an hour. She's not doing anything. Our kids are asleep. She's literally house sitting. But we have to budget for that. Like, our dates, she's gonna get here at 7, and we're probably gonna be gone until midnight. We have to budget for that. If you don't budget for that, that's when it becomes one of those where it's like, oh my God, we don't have money for this, or we can't afford to go on all these dates. Of course not. There was no budget, there was no thought put in. For my mascara, I used the Fenty Beauty Hella Thick Mascara. This is one of the best mascaras ever. I'm not a big lash girl because I just want to be comfortable on a date, so I'm not going to do any lashes, but I still think it does wonders for my lashes. We're going to get onto skin now. The Danessa Myricks Yummy Primer. This is one of my favorite primers ever, especially when I'm going for like a glowy look at night. It gives you the perfect glow. It's expensive to date when you're single, and it's apparently expensive to date when you're married. So keep that in mind when you're budgeting and when you're getting ready to make sure you go on dates. If you want to save on a nanny and you just don't have any family members in the area, going on date nights while the kids are in school is a great one. Now, we don't do this often because obviously my husband has to work during the day and I typically also have things to do. Maybe I'm in the office, or maybe I'll have one of my contracts I'm working for, or maybe I'm shooting content, whatever it may be. But we try to have maybe one Friday out of the month where our date is that Friday and it's during the day. These are some of my favorite dates. Like, maybe it's a lunch break while your kids are in school and your husband takes a lunch date and comes and picks you up and you guys go out. Maybe he leaves work a little early that day and you guys get to go. If your husband works from home like mine, it's a little bit easier for us to just take a lunch break and make it into a date night. Or he'll log off a little earlier than usual and then we'll go on a date night. These are my favorite. It's just so fun to be out during the day. Like, not that many people are around. We don't have to pay extra for a nanny or a sitter because all the kids are in school now. So it's just honestly a cheaper date. Like, we get to do something really fun too, because sometimes when we go out on date nights with our sitters are not also our nannies, so we try to limit any interaction with our kids. Like, for example, right now my husband is literally getting the kids ready for bed, so by the time the sitter gets here, she just stay in the house. So we can only go on things that are open after 7 p.m. But this option is fun for us to do all the things we can't do on those days that are not open after 7 p.m. So going on a date while the kids are in school not only saves you money, but it's a great way to just do something fun during the day. Using the Giorgio Armani Luminous Foundation is such a lightweight foundation. It feels like I'm wearing absolutely nothing, but also it looks absolutely gorgeous on my skin. I love how glowy it looks. It's perfect for date night, if I really want to say. This is how it applies. It sits so beautifully. I'm gonna go in with my concealer. I'm using the Tower Concealer, the shade Sama. I love this shade of concealer. I think it's just a very warm concealer, and it's also a very thick concealer, just FYI. If you need a concealer that's gonna last you a long time, this is a really good one. I like to apply my concealer, let it sit, let it dry a little bit, because I do want a slightly brighter under eye. And you don't have to do too much of this concealer. It's just very thick. Now, when it comes to keeping things spicy or just like keeping intimacy after having our kids, the definition of intimacy could fluctuate depending on who you're talking to. I think intimacy is just, quite frankly, like a moment where me and my husband feel close together, where we feel connected. And obviously, of course, there's physical intimacy, but I think non-physical intimacy actually is the root of having great physical intimacy. And for us, a few things that's been really helpful as far as like staying intimate even though we have 4 little kids is, one, having a very clear understanding of what makes us feel loved. Like, when my husband and I were having a conversation of like our yearly goals, one of the things we were talking about was, well, what made you feel the most loved this year? Actions made you feel so loved this year? And I think those questions are so important to make sure that, one, you guys are on the same page, because I think it would be really funny if my husband did something for me where he thought it was an action that would make me feel loved, but I'm like, oh, that didn't actually make me feel loved at all. Like, it was nice, but that didn't make me feel loved, right? I think it's important to have a conversation so you're on the same page with your partner on what makes them feel loved, what makes them feel more connected to you. That will probably help with just staying a little more intimate. And then two, it's in the little moments. Truly, it's in the little moments. I know it can be so hard with kids running around, but it's the small brush on the shoulder while the kid's around. It's the eye contact while, you're sitting across from each other eating dinner. It's the holding each other's hand randomly. It's the little touches, like the little moments that truly make you feel like I'm not parenting alone, we're parenting together. I'm not just sitting next to someone, I'm sitting next to my husband. Like, one of my favorite things that my husband does is while he's handling the kids, he will look over and be like, "Doesn't your mama look good?" I I swoon. Like, I don't know. Like, those moments make me feel so close to him, so connected to him. The little moments, like, when I'm sleeping in the bed and I wake up and I, roll over next to him and he's like, "Good morning, beautiful." Like, shut the fuck. Girl, shut up. I don't know. Maybe I'm a sucker. Maybe I'm just a sucker for, like, I don't know. Also, my husband knows me and he knows me very well and he knows what I like. So he knows me, right? He knows how to make me feel good. He knows how to make me feel loved. And I think that's the point, right? Making sure you're still intimate with each other, making sure you're still trying. Like, I am constantly trying to make sure my husband is loved. I am constantly trying to, like, look good for my man, like just like he does for me. I'm constantly trying to still feel connected to him. Like, I haven't stopped trying. And we flirt too. I think flirting is a big one. Flirting is a big one. And I don't mean like just like in like a obvious way. Just however you flirt. I don't think I'm a good flirt, but like with my man, girl, I'll be doing something. Like, flirting is fun. Like, keeping that energy of like, this is someone you're dating because you are dating them. I think that's where it comes to me. Like, getting date nights in, it's fun because you really still feel like you're dating this person. Blush, we're gonna use the elf blush in the shade Gorge Orange. I love this shade. It's absolutely stunning. I have been really feeling orange shades lately. I don't know what it is, but I just think they go really well with my skin tone. And this one particularly is a very pigmented, but it blends really well. So look at that. Absolutely stunning. I hope the lighting is not like washing me out so you guys can really see how beautiful this is. I'm gonna go in with the Huda Beauty powder, and this is the shade Banana Bread. I used to use the shade Cinnamon, but I decided to just go a little brighter on the setting powder because I want my under eye to be just a little brighter. So I like it. I think this just sets better. I haven't tried the new purple one yet, but I heard good things, girl. I heard great things, but this Banana Bread one, 10 out of 10, would recommend. It just keeps my makeup beautiful, but also, you see that finish? I talk about intimacy and just like connecting with your partner. One thing that you guys constantly tell me is like, how do you do it as an overstimulated mom? And if I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm not really an overstimulated mom because I take a lot of breaks and my husband is really good at making sure I have a lot of breaks. Like, I'm gonna give you an example. Like, when my husband comes home from work, and he's feeling a type of way, like maybe he wants some, whatever it may be, I've noticed what he does and he's genius. My husband comes home and immediately goes, "Hey babe, why don't you go upstairs? I'm gonna run you a bath and get some time to relax." That's not like an everyday thing, but typically the goal is he comes home from work, he takes over with the kids, and I'll do whatever I'm gonna do. But sometimes I end up just doing things that maybe aren't as relaxing. But when my husband wants me to be in a relaxed mood, he'll be like, "Hey babe, why don't you go upstairs? I'm gonna run you a bath so you can relax." Like, he sets the vibe for me. He sets the mood for me. Like, listen. That's why I got 4 kids. This man been, ooh, girl. It's blush. We're using NARS Beauty in the shade Obsessed. It's another orangey brush to just powder version of it. But really, I think it's important to discuss this with your partner. So if you are like an overstimulated mom and that's a big issue, talk to your man, girl. The way we talk to our men is also important, right? Just be like, "Hey, babe, I would really like to have some time to myself after you get home from work because I'm overstimulated, to just help me receive you better. Help me receive you better." Bitch, he's gonna melt. Here's how you're gonna do it. He's gonna get home from work. You're gonna look at him really sweetly and you're gonna say, hey babe, by the time you get home from work, I'm very overstimulated, but I wanna be able to receive you better. So if you can just prioritize being with the kids so I can have some time for myself, it will really help me receive you better when you get home from work. Try it and report back to me with a thank you. I suggest, girl, just listen. I think sometimes we just gotta soften up a little in our approach, right? I think we gotta just, and I'm not just telling y'all this. This is something I have to remind myself of too. Like sometimes we just gotta soften the approach a little. Remind him, you're his girl, you're his baby, right? You're the love of his life. Treat me softly. That's it. That's it, girl. That's it. And let me tell you something. For me, what that does as far as just like setting my vibe, one, all of a sudden I'm feeling real grateful to my man. I'm feeling really, damn, that's my man, right? Two, it's like I really do get out of the mindset of being a mom and get into the mindset of being a wife. And I love that. That really is what sets me into that. Dad is home, home for me. Hey, I know you've been. I need to really back in. Anyways, girl, let's put some setting spray on this. I'm using the Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. I'm gonna, because I want this makeup to last. We're gonna be running around today. This is a game night, girl. He gonna have me playing video games, I think. I'm gonna go in with a powder. This is NYX, I think. I don't remember, girl. I think it's an NYX powder. It's a little bright, but I'm just putting a little powder in my under eye. Remember here, baby. I'm saying I don't really contour my nose per se. I don't know if you guys saw. I'm not the best at it. I just try to put some darker on the side. I don't have blush brightness per se, but good God, does my skin look lovely with some blush on. For glow, we're gonna use the LYS glow stick. I like to put it on my hand first because it just applies a little too light without that. So it's just blending smoothly and goes exactly where I want it. On my cheeks, a little bit on my nose, a little bit on my, whatever that thing is called. It's the NYX lip pencil in the shade Espresso. Brown enough for what I like. I hope it shows on my skin, and it sort of does. Ooh. Wait. This is beautiful. And this was really relevantly cheap compared to the ones I've bought on the market. I usually like the Sephora one in the shade Manassas, but it's been sold out for a long time. And it shows up almost as good as some of the more expensive ones I've bought. So this fixing spray, this is the L'Oreal fixing spray, and this fixing spray makes it so my makeup goes nowhere. It's like waterproof, smudge proof. It's incredible. And what's funny about it is I actually have this one, and I also have the one size fixing spray. The one size one, literally bought the big bottle for like 20 or 30 something dollars, and this was only like 18 or 16 dollars. This is better. This is better and cheaper, and your makeup really will not move. This was overhyped, but I have it, so you know. For my lip gloss combo, it's been the same lip gloss combo for a very long time. This is NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Madeline. This is my favorite shade of butter gloss. I love these butter glosses, but Madeline, oh, Madeline just does it for me every time. It's so gorgeous. This with a black or brown liner, a black girl's best friend. Here is the lip combo. Ooh, it's beautiful. So I'm actually gonna apply the setting spray one more time. I say all of that to say date nights after having kids is difficult. Making sure you have date nights after having kids has to be a priority, but it's no longer something you can just do in passing. You have to be intentional about it. You have to make sure you budget for it. You have to get a sitter. You have to make sure that you're planning ahead. You have to make sure that you take advantage of the little things like planning daytime dates. And most importantly, you have to make sure that you do something that works for both of you and find a system that works for both of you. This is what works for my husband and I, and it's been absolutely fantastic. Obviously, there's a lot more background things we do. Like my husband and I have weekly check-ins. My husband and I are also in couples counseling. We like to do couples counseling as a maintenance. Like date nights, I think, are also a great maintenance as well. They help us connect. They help us talk to each other. They help us just be wife and husband and step away from mom and dad. And these are just the tips that help us. This is what works for us. Hey guys, this is the final look for our date night. I'm just gonna apply a little gloss, a little shimmer on my lips. This is a very casual date night. We're going on a game night, so I wanted to keep things really cash. I am wearing a little t-shirt from H&M, a couple of jewelry to zhuzh it up, and some trousers. My idea of casual is always a pair of trousers instead of jeans, even though I love a good pair of jeans. But if I want to be comfortable and still look casual and still put together, I just love trousers, girl. Thank you so much for getting ready with me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you guys had fun hanging out with me, getting ready with me, yapping with me, and I hope you got some useful information or tips from this video. Please don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Don't be shy. Let me know what more you want to see of me. And as always, Santi Sana.